Good morning. How are we doing? Long time no see. I've been a bit lazy lately and very busy, to be fair. Busy with work, busy with other interests. I've had family over for the first time in nearly 6 years. It's been nearly 6 years since they were here last, which is a long time. So during that time, we did things every day, of course. We're busy, spent a lot of money, and just had fun. And during that time, I wasn't watching YouTube. I don't think I watched anything. Obviously didn't upload anything. I haven't uploaded a vid for just over 2 months, which really is a bit shocking and a little bit unacceptable. Obviously, there's never an obligation to upload vids and to watch other people's stuff, but at the same time, I guess if you're putting the vids out there, people are liking what they watch and they're subscribing to your channel, and then you don't provide content, it's a bit of a slap in the face, isn't it? So I think, not that there's any obligation, but there kind of is. A little bit. If you want. I don't know. That whole 30 seconds didn't make much sense. But yes, I haven't really made anything. I haven't had the time. And of course, I've said this before and I'll say it again in the future, God knows how many times, but you know, you leave a video for a week, or leave making a vid for a week, and that week turns into 2, turns into a month, turns into 2 months, and for some it turns into a permanent thing where they just can't be bothered to get back into it, and they fall out of the loop, and they just feel as if it's a struggle to get back into it. But you know, I've been making videos for a long time, and I like doing it, obviously. It's just that sometimes you're gonna be busy, so never feel as if you've got to upload vids, especially if you aren't in the mood. You know, the only thing I've ever said is, unless you're 100% certain, don't delete your channel. You can come back to it whenever you like, after a week, after a year, after 5 years. It's up to you. Don't delete your channel, unless you really want to. So anyway, yeah, just been really busy. I've made a few little notes in the corners to what I want to talk about. Although I'm looking at it now, I made this list like a few days ago, and all I can see is union, drunk, Dave, all these little things. And I'm looking at it thinking, what was I talking about? So let's quickly touch upon the union, because since I've been away, of course, there's been the vote for independence, or the vote for independence was there. It was an option, but Scotland didn't take it. They voted to remain as part of the union. Now, personally, I should say I wouldn't have lost any sleep over it either way, but personally, I'm more of a unionist, so I wanted the union to stay as it is. I just think out of tradition, even though it's only been around for about 300 years, that's still a lot of tradition, a lot of history. You know, we've fought together in battles, World War I, World War II, and we're a little island. We're separated from everybody else. So I've always felt that we're kind of the same place, we're the same country, different to like mainland Europe or anywhere else for that matter. You know, the accent, or the language anyway, the accent, the dialect's different, of course it is, but you could say the accent and dialect is different from the south of London to the north. But the language is the same. We've got everything in common. There's no need, I felt, to separate that and risk everything, financial things, and it would put us all at a financial risk. It would put us at a risk maybe militarily. Not that I'm into the whole war thing, I deplore it, and I'm sure a lot of us do. But the fact is, if we were ever in a situation where we were attacked or threatened, we'd be weakened. And there's many other reasons. I just felt it was unnecessary. And the arguments for independence, to me, it just seemed as if people wanted it because they could have it. Which, in itself, you could say, oh, well, what's wrong with that? Well, if you've not really got a reason as to why you want to do something, why do it? Why break something that doesn't need broken? If it's not broke, why fix it? And that's what I felt for the union. I was personally a little bit, even though I wasn't that bothered about it, I thought it was a little bit sneaky to allow 16-year-olds to vote, because generally speaking, without sounding really patronising, when it comes to politics, I think a lot of young people don't really understand, or at least they didn't when I was 16. Maybe things have changed. Maybe kids and young adults are a lot more in the loop compared to, you know, when I was that age. I'm not really sure, but generally speaking, I'd have thought a 16-year-old doesn't really know a lot about the world when it comes to politics, and therefore to have a vote on something like as important as whether Scotland wants independence, how independent would it really be? Probably not. But anyway, I just thought it was a little bit of a sneaky move, because generally speaking, young people like change. They want change because it's breaking away from the status quo and what's always been there in the past. And that's what I found just by watching, like, you know, clips on the internet. Young people were being interviewed, and it seemed the general consensus was that young people wanted independence. But when they were pushed, at least the clips that I watched, when they were pushed as to why they wanted independence, they didn't really have an answer. It's just because they wanted it, because they thought it was like a good opportunity for change, a lot of them were saying. But they didn't really know what that change was for. So what's the point? I didn't understand. But anyway, they voted 55% in favour against independence, which is very, very convincing. 55% of people in Scotland didn't want independence, and I think that says it all. That's a huge, huge number. And I was, even though I said I wouldn't lose any sleep over it, I actually was a little bit relieved. I've got to be honest. I was a little bit relieved when I found out that they didn't want independence, because I am more of a unionist, to be honest. But I guess we're all different when it comes to things like that. And I think one of the reasons why I'm more of a unionist is because even though I'm English and my parents are English, when you go back to grandparents, well, some of my grandparents and all of my great-grandparents, none of them are English. You've got Irish, and funnily enough, Scottish, and you've got German in there as well. Keep that one quiet. So really, how English am I? If you look at it that way, I've always kind of questioned that. It's not that I'm anti-English, and I am English, but generally, when someone asks me where I'm from or my nationality, I personally say British before English, but I know not everybody agrees with that. I guess it depends, doesn't it? You know, maybe how far back your family tree line goes. Does it go back a lot with England? And if it does, you're probably more inclined to count yourself as English over British. But maybe for someone like me, who's maybe second generation, third generation, whatever it may be, maybe you look at it a little bit more like, well, yeah, I am English, but I'm more British. And that's how I look at it. But again, ultimately, I don't really care. You know, we don't have a choice where we're born, and we just get on with it. We're all people at the end of the day, come from the same kind of place eventually. If you go back to however life started, which is a question for another day. Let's not even go there in this one. So yeah, the union is in place. So pleased with that. But I know not everybody agrees, but the majority clearly do, because they voted against it. The other thing I've wrote on here is drunk. Now, okay, so this has gone back about three weeks, give or take. And it was when my family were over, and my sister, she lives in London, so she's a bit younger than me. She's 28, I think. And she lives in London, so she's a city girl. And she grew up in the south as well. She's got like a southern accent, and I've got the northern accent, as everyone else in my family's got, because we were born in the north of England. But she grew up in the south. And anyway, that was kind of pointless saying that bit. Although it is quite kind of funny, because when we're all together and you hear my sister talking, you'd never guess we're the same family, because it is a different accent. It's kind of weird. But anyway, I digress once again. So we were out, or we were going to go out. By the way, I've got a cold, and Jesus. Apologies for all these coughing sessions. In fact, let's have a swig of tea. And if you're wondering, without going on a tangent here, why my face kind of looks a little bit orangey stroke yellowy red, it's because of the sun. It's shining in, and it looks a little bit weird. Or maybe you can't tell, but I can by looking at the camera reflection. But anyway, so we were in one night. That's what we were doing. We were in, and we weren't planning on doing anything, because it was around about 8:30 at night. You know, we'd been out during the morning and the afternoon, and then my sister wanted to go out. Again, the whole living in London thing, it's a big city. She's always doing things. You know, she's like a freelance journalist, interviewing rock stars and going to gigs and, you know, being paid essentially to do all that kind of stuff. Lucky for some. And she said, oh, I want to go out. I'm bored, because we live in like a smaller town. There is things to do, but it's obviously not as vibrant as London. And so we went, all right, just to keep her quiet and keep her happy, let's go out. So we had heard, actually, a few days before about a local club that were going to be doing an open mic thing. An open mic, basically, where people would go up and sing. They'd play in a band, or they could go up individually, that kind of stuff, if you're brave enough to perform in front of a load of strangers. And I wouldn't have been doing it, obviously. I played the guitar, but I wasn't going to be going up there and performing in front of people. That was an absolute fact. But other people were, and we thought, well, we might go and see that, but we'd forgotten about it. But my sister brought it up and went, well, hey, what about that open mic thing that was going to be in town, starting at 9 o'clock? It was around about 8:30, like I say. And 8:30 at night is usually most people are winding down, but we went out. We thought, all right, let's keep it quiet. Let's go out and we'll see this open mic thing. So we got there, and it was shut. The whole building was shut. No lights were on. It was just desolate. which is really weird. Now, maybe they changed the slots. Maybe it's going to be the next night or in the future or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea why it was closed, but it was. But there's a few kids out there, because it's kind of like a university, is it university? Yeah, like a university kind of town. So it's quite vibrant in itself, albeit on a lower scale. And there's a few kids there going, oh, you turned up to watch this as well, because we turned up and they've not performed, it's ridiculous. And we were like, well, yeah, we were going to watch it. And they were like, well, what there is, on the next block, there's a band playing. It's not an open mic, but there's a band playing. They might be quite good. We might be going there later. You might want to give that a shot. It's something to do, seeing as you're in town, you might as well do it. And so we decided to go. But before we did, we said, well, what kind of music is it? And the kids, they're all very friendly and what have you, college, university age. And they went, well, it's bluegrass music, which is kind of like country, if you like. And that's not my thing whatsoever. But we were out. It was a live gig. Never heard of the band before. Didn't even know who they were. But we thought, well, let's go ahead. Let's watch them. And I should say, actually, you kind of had to be there because it's not very funny. But just as we were going, the guy stopped my dad and he went, you look exactly like Ricky Gervais. And I've always thought that. I thought and think my dad looks like Ricky Gervais. No one in public has ever said it before, but when he said it, and I just thought it was really funny. You had to be there, like I say. So anyway, we moved up to the next block, walked up there, and went into this bar, can't remember what you call it, and it was just like a typical kind of sports bar, really. You know, got the TV on, the baseball, or the American football was on, whatever it was. This is America after all, and you can see people sitting there with the baseball caps on, the Budweiser drinks, and whatever else they have. And behind that was like a big door, and you could hear some kind of music in there. Now, the band hadn't started. I think they were just practicing. Anyway, to cut a long story short, because I can tell you're bored already, I'm bored bloody telling it. We had a couple of drinks before we went in. I had a Newcastle Brown Ale, I had a Guinness, my staple choices, I think usually my poisons when it comes to alcohol. And then we went in, they opened the doors where everyone could kind of go in. It was $10 each to watch this band that we'd never heard of before, and I didn't even really like that kind of music. But the band were called Grant Farm. I've not really been on YouTube or on Google, I should say, to study how big or how small maybe this band is. But it looks as if they've been around a while. Like the lead singer looked as if he was probably in his mid-40s. So, been around a while. He writes all the songs. His name is Tyler Grant, Grant Farm. As you can see what he's doing there, it's his band. But it's funny because we went in there and there was no one on stage. We were the first ones to go in as soon as the doors opened. We sat down at a table, had a few beers. I'll get to the drunk story in a minute. And after about 10 minutes, this, I say kid, he's mid-20s maybe. How patronising is that kid, mid-20s? Could even have been older. It might have been older than me. He kind of walks over and kind of like sort of at the table kind of squats down and goes, oh, how are you guys doing? And I'm thinking, who the fucking hell are you? I didn't say that, but I thought, well, he was just coming over randomly to us, just trying to, instigate conversation. And it ended up being the drummer because he just looked, he looked a little bit cool. And I just went, are you in the band? And he went, yeah, I'm the drummer. It was kind of cool that we came over and introduced themselves. We had a chat about music and just about life in general. It's kind of funny. And then he went off, did his thing. Oh, before he went off, he said, do you play any instruments? And I said, yeah, I play the guitar. And my dad said, well, yeah, he plays the guitar as well. And the guy was like, the drummer was like, well, we'll have to get you on stage to do something. I went, I'm not doing this. No way. That was my chance for a bit of fame. I could have gone on stage and performed. Because he would have done it. Because I said, I play it. And he said he'd invite me on stage if I wanted to, but I just didn't want it. My dad wasn't having any of it. Which is surprising because he's a bit of a showman because he does gigs all the time. Again, that's a story for another vid. He's made records and stuff in the past, or cassettes, CDs. Yeah, I'll talk about that another day, I think. But anyway, so that bloke walked off and the gig started. We had a few more drinks. And now I'm getting to the point of the story where I wrote drunk in the corner of the screen there. Because it was after about an hour and a half, and I'd probably had about 5 drinks. I reckon I'd had maybe a couple of Newcastle Brown Ales. I'd had 1 Guinness, I know I just had the one. But I had a couple of other stuff as well that my sister had brought over. I didn't even know what it was, and because it was loud and you couldn't really hear, I just didn't really ask any questions, I just drank it. It could have been spiked, could have been anything in there. I didn't even care at the time. But it got to the point where after, like I say, about an hour and a half, I was feeling, my head was heavy. It felt like kind of cotton wool. You know that feeling? But I was completely conscious of what was going on. I was aware of my surroundings and I could, I was taking part in conversations. I knew what was going on. But I could feel that my legs had gone. I could feel them, they'd completely gone. But here's the problem. After about an hour and a half, like I say, I really needed to go to the bathroom, and I could see it. It was just at the other end of the hall. It's not like I had to go down some steps or up some steps or turn left and right and do this and go into another building. It was just on the other side of the hall. I could see it. You know, it was lit up like the male and female toilets, like anywhere else. And but I didn't want to get up, and I didn't want to get up because my legs had gone. And it felt as if, when I was sitting down, it felt as if the minute that I stood up, I was going to collapse into a heap. So I thought, well, I can't do it. But I had to do it because I needed to go to the toilet. I obviously couldn't just piss myself standing there or sitting there. So I concentrated. I made this real kind of mental note to concentrate like I'd never concentrated before, ever, on walking. And so I kind of turned around and went, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. And they were like, well, yeah, fine, obviously. Why would they say otherwise? And as I stood up, I remember just going so slow, concentrating on standing up because it just felt like my legs could have just buckled at any stage. And I started to walk, and I could feel myself, even though my head was kind of, I was all right in my head, my legs had kind of gone, I could feel, as I was walking, in like a zigzag line back and forth, and God knows what I looked like. I must have looked like some kind of drunk, but I was, essentially. But I eventually got to the bathroom. I really literally was zigzagging back and forth. Trying not to, but I couldn't help it. Got to the bathroom, was there at the urinal. You know, how much detail do you want here? Did what I did what we do, and then I washed my hands, and I thought I'll just splash my face with a bit of water, because I had to, because I was feeling that kind of hot as well, you know what it's like, and my legs are still kind of jelly-like, but throwing that bit of water on my face, it really helped, and I managed to get back to the to our table where we were sitting. But even before I'd set off on the journey back, you know, the trip back from the bathroom to our table, I had to really concentrate on walking, because it just felt like if I just broke that concentration for 1 second, I'd have fallen over. It was that bad. So anyway, a few drinks later, because obviously I hadn't learnt my lesson, we thought, that's it. We'll leave. I actually got a bot of vinyl during their kind of like interlude. And the guy was there, the lead singer, and we had a bit of a conversation, and I got him to sign it. Not that they're stars, but I thought it would be a nice kind of souvenir, if you like. Nice memories. So he signed it, as the rest of the band did. And I'll have that on a vinyl pickup video. It's probably going to be the next video I make, or the one after. We'll see. Long overdue vinyl vid. And so we got him to sign that. And then eventually, at the end of the night, we went home, obviously. Now, by the time we went home, it was around about 2:30 in the morning. This thing went on a long time. I think they were due to start at like 9 o'clock, but the band didn't actually come on until about 10:30 or something. Crazy like that. And there was quite a few people in there as well. It wasn't like deserted. It was initially. We were thought, Jesus, no one's in here. But once, you know, they started to get on stage, people started to come in. Because before that, I felt really embarrassed. It was like it was just us and 2 other people. And we were like, surely this isn't it. Surely other people are going to come in. Eventually, it kind of filled out, which was kind of relieving for all of us, I think. But anyway, on the way back, we passed it's like a string of shops. There's like a CVS. I don't know if they have CVS in the UK. I can't even remember. Think of it of like a downscaled Boots. Downscaled, not in terms of size, but in terms of kind of quality. And when I say Boots, the chemist, because they sell things like, there's the food, they've got like a pharmacy at the back, they've got like cosmetics, that kind of stuff. It's essentially like a Boots, but maybe sort of a cheaper version. And there's a CV, like I said, the CVS, there's a Starbucks, there's a Subway, it's like a hairdresser's, there's a few other things. It's not like a mall, it's not hundreds of shops, but it's like a little kind of triangle of, you know, of shops. Little local kind of thing. And usually it's very busy. It probably shuts at around about 10:30, give or take. Anyway, so 2:30 in the morning, we're approaching this in the car because we're going home. I've been drinking. No one else, well, my dad, who's driving, he obviously wasn't drinking. I had been, so I'm in the back seat. And we got to the CVS where all the shops are. And remember, I'd had a few to drink, like I say. And we got past, we were approaching it, and it was really deserted because it was 2:30 in the morning. But I couldn't comprehend the fact that it was 2:30 in the morning because I wasn't thinking straight, even though I thought I was. And out loud I went, why is it so quiet? I've never seen it so quiet in my life. And they kind of, everyone just like laughing at me, going, it's 2:30 in the morning, you idiot. And I was like, oh yeah. Then it kind of registered, oh yeah, that's why it's obviously so quiet. And then, but it was just the thought like, why is it, there's no one there. And it was just funny because as we were coming up to it in the car, I just couldn't see anybody at all. And like I say, it was just You had to be there. It's not funny now. But it was just weird to hear someone kind of say, or it must have been weird, I guess, to hear someone say, why is it so quiet? 3 o'clock in the morning. There's the answer why. And I remember my sister turned around to me and she went, are you drunk? And I remember going, I'm fine. And I couldn't get the word fine out. And then everyone starts laughing. You had to be there, like I say. So I don't get drunk often at all, but on that particular night I'd had a few. Thanks to the Newcastle Brown Ales and the Guinness. So sticking to British and Irish stuff, even though I'm in America. Brilliant. So the next thing I want to talk about, because that whole last 2 minutes was really a waste of your time. Next thing I want to talk about is, what have I wrote up here? Oh, yeah, that's right. This is going back around about 3 months. I'll put a link in the description bar. In fact, I'm just going to have a little bit of a swig of tea. But around about 4 months back, I was asked if I wanted to take part in a vid by a YouTube member called Xyphoe. Now, Xyphoe, really good channel, really nice guy. Been subscribed for about 4 years, I think. I don't always comment on everything he does, but I comment on the ones which kind of are nostalgic or which look interesting. But I usually watch all the things he does. And basically he concentrates 99% of the time on Amstrad stuff. He's essentially an Amstrad channel. He does gameplays and all that kind of stuff. Seldom comes on camera. I think he's done it twice in his history. And one of them was on this video that we made. So he's not really, it's not about him as such. It's more about, he wants to showcase all the Amstrad. He's obviously got a passion for the CPC, as I have. I used to have one. It was my first computer and I absolutely love it. It's obviously one of the reasons why I'm subscribed to his channel, because I love the Amstrad, and he's a nice guy, so there's another reason as well. But going back about 4 months, he sent me a PM, and he said, you know, basically, I know you like the CPC, you've commented on a few of my vids in the past, I'm doing a 464, which is the Amstrad 464 special. It's been 30 years since it was released. Would you like to take part in it? I'm just going to ask you and a few other YouTube members a few questions. If you're interested, let me know, and if not, no worries. And I was like, yeah. Absolutely, I love the Amstrad. Any excuse to get on camera, thank you very much, I'll have that. And I just wanted to do it. I was really pleased to be asked. I think it's really nice when someone asks you to do something. And we can't always do it, of course, or sometimes maybe we don't want to. But for this one, I absolutely did. And I got back to him, I said, absolutely, yeah. Let me know what you want me to do, within reason, and I'll do it. And so he gets back to me, and I think it was like 4 or 5 questions or whatever it was. And all he wanted me to do was obviously just kind of give the answers on camera to the questions. So I did that, I recorded it and sent it to him. And then I think there was a delay of around about 6 weeks or more before the video finally went live. So he kind of missed his date of the actual birthday of the CPC 464. I think he was waiting for contributions for a few other people, and maybe he was busy himself, you know, with his own life, because life gets in the way of things, of course. But eventually the video went up. And I'll put a link in below. You've got to watch it, not just because I'm on it, but hey, that's a good reason, right? But there's a few other YouTubers. I think Steve Benway, I know Steve Benway's on there. Ash81B4U. There's 1 or 2 others, and apologies, I can't remember who they are. A bit awkward, embarrassing. But yeah, all really good contributors, and it was a really enjoyable vid. I really enjoyed it, hence being really enjoyable. So I'll put a link in. Please watch it. I think it's got like, I checked it yesterday. It had like 138 likes. And 1 dislike. What a misery guts. Who would do that? Why do people do that? But anyway, 138 likes, and it's a really good vid, and really interesting to hear other people's views. It's funny though, because we kind of all said the same thing, really, but put our own individual spin on things with our experiences and our own nostalgia. So, and I name-checked and name-dropped the 6128, CPC 6128, a few too many times. But I didn't have the 464, I had the 6128. Which, of course, was the better model. So I had to get that in there, a little jibe, every now and again. But no, a really good vid by everybody. And, yeah, really pleased to be part of it. And Xyphoe's he's a good lad. And if you like your 8-bit games and your gameplay and your 8-bit era, you've got to check out his channel because he's really good. He does long plays on all the CPC games and an excellent channel. Thoroughly recommended. Now, speaking of other channels which are recommended, I've mentioned this guy before, a good friend of mine. I was just talking to him the other day. It's Dave, that's Psycho Fox. And all I've wrote on here in my little notes in the corner is Street Fighter 2 cab, because I thought this was quite interesting. Because going back, again, this is a few months because I've not made a video, so this is kind of old news, really. A few months back, me and Dave were talking in one of our PMs that we do, or like emails, outside YouTube. And Dave was telling me, and he's since told this story briefly on one of his own vids. Dave was telling me that he had the opportunity to buy a Street Fighter 2 arcade cab. Now, this is his holy grail. This is something that he's wanted for years and years and years. And much like myself, I love Street Fighter 2. It's arguably my most nostalgic game. It's not my favourite game. There's games I prefer, but it's possibly my most nostalgic one. Just the memories associated with that game, with that era, with certain friends. It's just immense, and I absolutely love it. Now, I don't know if I personally want a Street Fighter 2 cab, but we're all different, of course. We've all got different nostalgia. But with Dave, he's always wanted one. It is or was his holy grail. Now, quite recently, he had the opportunity, I can't remember the exact specifics, but he had the opportunity to get this Street Fighter 2 cab at a decent price, in good condition, and he turned it down. And I found that really interesting because, like I say, it was his holy grail. But I think a couple of things have happened with Dave. One, over the course of the last couple of years, he's had a baby daughter, which obviously takes up a lot of time. So she's obviously very young, and it maybe changes your perspective about what you can spend money on and space and time and all that kind of stuff. And also last year, or maybe it was earlier this year actually, he's moved house. Either way, still recently he's moved house. And I know from experience, I've been in this house now for a couple of years, which is, it's not a long time. It kind of is, but it isn't. It depends which way you want to look at it. But I know from experience of having recently done it, that it really does make you question things you're buying and maybe downscaling, or maybe not necessarily downscaling, but changing habits. Do you really want to buy this? Do you really want to do this? Maybe, you know, I guess it's a clean slate, isn't it? When you move house, everything is, it's like starting again. And you could do it at any stage. You don't have to move house to start afresh, but it's a really good opportunity. And I think those things with his daughter and with moving house have kind of hit Dave hard, in a nice way, in a positive way, of course. And he's looked at it and thought, and he's probably thought, well, why do I want a Street Fighter 2 cab? It'll take up so much space. You know, and it's almost as if it's, I'm putting words into his mouth, but it's almost a case of, or I interpreted it, it's almost as if the chase is better than the actual kill, if you like. You know, you want to go for something, and then when you've got the opportunity to get it, you're like, nah, actually, I'm not that bothered. It's kind of what it seems that way. Maybe it's a little bit with me with certain things as well, things which I kind of pine for nostalgically, that I think I want to buy back, like games and systems, but maybe in reality, if I was to get them, maybe it wouldn't mean very much, but it's just the thought of wanting them. I'm not sure. But yeah, I found that really interesting, so I don't know if anyone else has ever gone through something like that, where you've really wanted something, and I mean genuinely wanted it, and keep it clean, talking about games, and then when you've actually got it, or done it, and you thought, actually, yeah, let's move on. But I did think it was an interesting kind of story. So yeah, now another thing that I've wrote on here, this has gone on for ages, bloody hell, a return to the long vid, is since, I was going to say recently actually, but this has been going on quite a while. Some of you may know with my channel, even though I'm kind of a gaming channel, I've never really considered myself a gaming channel per se, because I do my game stuff. I do my football stuff very infrequently. I need to do another one of those vids soon. Might do one today actually. After City beating United, better time than ever, I guess. I do the diary stuff, although it's been 1 year since I did the last diary video. How embarrassing. Where does the time go? Ridiculous. The Games X stuff, which I guess is kind of gaming related. And I do my music pickups. It was initially kind of with CDs going back a year or two. And then 2 or 3 months back I did a vinyl vid. Now I will do another one next couple of days. You can kind of see them. There they are behind me. So there's quite a few that I've bought. So I'll do a vinyl pickup vid soon. But as a result of, you know, doing different stuff on my channel, I don't just watch gaming stuff. I watch other things. And one of the things I've recently started to get into a lot within YouTube is the vinyl community. And it's just kind of funny watching other communities, because obviously I'd say the majority of people watching this are going to be part of the gaming community, which is great, and it's something I've been part of for 4 or 5 years. And it's fantastic, great people, you know who you are, and all the rest of it. But it's funny because you sometimes forget, I know I do, that there are other people out there who have their own communities, be it the film community, the music community, the knitting community, whatever it may be. And so I've been watching all these vinyl community vids, and they all, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of start the vids by going, you know, like, hey, VC, but vinyl community. And I just kind of find it interesting. And I've been watching a lot of vinyl pickup vids and people just in the music kind of community in general. I've not really been leaving many comments. I'm not really interacting with them, occasionally. But my leaving comments is really still for the gaming stuff. That's my kind of main thing right now anyway. But I am watching and subscribing to a lot of gaming channels, music channels, and it's just kind of interesting just to see different communities. But when I was watching one of these vinyl vids, someone made a point in one of their kind of vids that they were making, because someone had criticised them for making too many videos. So it just goes to show that it doesn't matter whether it's a gaming community or the music community, you've always got people bickering and arguing. It's just life, isn't it? What can you do? But this particular guy that I was watching does make a lot of vids, and they always come through my subs box. It's like every day, like 2 a day, and it's at the point where you almost think, I'm tempted to unsubscribe, because it's every day. It's not like 2 or 3 will come through in 24 hours and he doesn't do anything for a week. It's 2 or 3 every day, and they're like 2 minutes long, and it's really irritating. But when he does make good videos, they're really good, like informative. So you take the rough with the smooth. But I thought it was an interesting point, because, like I say, his point that he was making on his vid was, am I, or do we, make too many videos? Can there be such a thing of making too many? And I wanted to leave a comment and say, well, mate, you make 3 a day. It is pretty infuriating when, especially some of them are 2 minutes long. Can you not just combine them all in one vid? I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to upset the apple cart. There's no point. Why look for an argument? Even if you're not trying to get one, it's probably going to result in one. So I just stay away from all that nonsense. As I do with the gaming community, just stay away from trouble, because if you look for it, you'll get it. So, not interested in all that. But I did think it was an interesting point. Can people make too many videos? I tend to stick to one every 2.5 months, as you can see. Now, generally speaking, once I'm doing my normal kind of uploading, it's probably 1 a week, I think, is what I kind of average. Maybe 2 at best if I'm feeling really flush and creative. But that is at an absolute push. But can you make too many? I guess if you are doing 2 or 3 a day, is that too many? 1 a week, 2 a week, 5 a week? I guess it depends. I guess it depends also how well you like them, how well you know that person. Because if it's someone who you don't really know on a personal level and they're uploading a lot of vids, I can see how it's very easy to think, oh, this is really infuriating. But if you know them well and you maybe talk outside of YouTube, then it's a good thing, I think, because it's more content. And especially, obviously, if you like their channel, you want to watch more of it. But it is a fine line. So there's not really a lot more I can elaborate on there. But I just thought it was an interesting question of that particular YouTuber asking, can we, as uploaders, make too many vids too soon? So that's that. There's a load of other things. I'm going to save these, I think, for another day. The PlayStation 3. Oh, that kind of makes me laugh. I guess I could briefly, time for another drink. So we get tea. Yeah, briefly talk about this. Now, I've bought a few PlayStation 3 games recently on eBay. Quite a lot, actually. But it came in one bundle. A bundle of 22 or 23 games. And it was $125, which is approximately, off the top of my head, and I could be wrong, but to give you a rough ballpark figure, $125, about 80 quid. For 22, 23 PlayStation 3 games. All box. Conditions all right. There's a few of them which are a little bit ropey. You look at it and think, how did you get it mangled like that? Just clean your cases, but nothing that I can't clean up. Or just my replacement cases, if I was that kind of anal about it. But the story kind of makes me laugh in a way, because, in fact, I've got a couple of quick eBay stories, and after this I will kind of wrap the vid up because it's going on a long time, and I'll save the other topics for another vid. But I was watching Stu, 2UK's vid yesterday, and he was talking about a couple of, or one particular eBay experience which wasn't particularly smooth, and it infuriated him. And we've all got stories like that. eBay at times can be an absolute pain in the ass with some sellers who haven't got a clue what they're doing, or they don't care. But the 2 stories, like I say, the first one, the PlayStation 3 collection. So there it was a buy it now. The auction had only just been listed about 2 hours before I found it. And I think I was looking for one particular game, but I checked the box on eBay where it says include things in the item description. So everything. So if someone's selling a bundle, basically, then that game, if they've wrote it in the item description, will appear on my search list. So I did that, and it appeared as the bundle. And I thought, well, I don't really want a bundle of 23. I probably got some of them, but it did have the game I wanted. And the game I wanted, I was prepared to pay around about $20 for. It usually goes for 15, 20, so, I was happy to do that. So when I saw the bundle of 22 or 23 going for $125, I thought, that's a great price. I've really got to buy it. So I clicked on the buy it now. But in fact, before I clicked on the buy it now button, what I did is I looked and I read the item description, because I thought there must be something wrong. $125, and they were really good games as well. There's a couple of average ones, but generally speaking, they were really good. And I thought, there must be something wrong here. Is he selling just half of them? Is he one of these sneaky ones who says, click on the buy it now button, but you can only choose like 4 or 5? Because I've seen that kind of sneaky practice thrown in before. I thought there was going to be something wrong, something strange or suspicious with the auction. So I read it through a couple of times, and I thought, no, he's genuinely selling all these games, and they're good ones. So I clicked on the buy it now button. I thought, what have I got to lose? If I buy it, if they don't arrive, I'll get my money back from PayPal, because PayPal is very heavily on the side of buyers. So I'm kind of protected either way. So it didn't really bother me. So I took the punt. So I bought it. Now, I think this was like on a Thursday night. Now, the very next day, on a Friday night, the seller emails me. I wish I still had the emails in front of me, but I'm just going to have to kind of paraphrase a little bit of what he said. But he sent me an email. He said, thanks for buying the PS3 games. He said, do you still want them? Because I won't be able to post these until Monday. Now, this was Friday night. So the only other time before Monday that he's got to send them would be Saturday, the next day. He couldn't post them on a Sunday. So I read their email and I thought, what a stupid question. My initial reaction was that he didn't want to sell them. Maybe he'd realised he'd undersold them, because he probably could have got, I reckon, $50 to $75 more if he was clever. But he just listed them at a really low buy it now price. In fact, there was even a make a best offer on top of that, so he didn't really know what he was selling. And I didn't want to go in with a make a best offer, because I knew someone else would buy it outright, because it was a good deal. So I just paid the $125. So I replied to that email. I said, no, it's all right, mate. It's Friday night. I can wait till Monday. It's not a problem. And he replies back. He said, okay, I'll let you know when I've sent them. So I thought, okay. Now, on Saturday night, he replies back again, or sends another email. He says, I just want to make sure that you still want these. He said, remember, I can't post them until Monday. If this is going to be a problem, I remember him specifically saying that, then let me know and I'll refund you instantly. And now I knew for a fact that he didn't want to sell them for $125. But I just played the game, you know, and I just replied back. I said, that's all right, mate. I said, tomorrow, when did he, it was either Saturday night or Sunday night when he sent this email. I said, no, and I kind of put lol, like LOL. I said, no, mate, it's fine. Just send them tomorrow, Monday. Not a problem. I can wait an extra day. It's not the end of the world. And he replies back, and then he got to the point which I was waiting for, which I knew all along. And he started his email by saying, damn, lol. He said, I was hoping you wouldn't want them anymore so I could relist them with a couple of other games and get more money. And I replied to that, and what did I say? No, I didn't reply to that. I didn't reply to that email, because I thought, well, what he's going to do, I thought he's just going to refund me, because that's what he could have done. But he's a new YouTuber. Maybe he didn't know you can just refund. Maybe he felt that because he'd sold them, he's under an obligation now to do it. I'm not sure. But he could have just refunded me if he wanted to. But I didn't ask for a refund. I just thought I'd leave it. If he sends them, he sends them. And if he doesn't and he refunds me, then he refunds me. Whatever. You know, I wasn't really bothered. By this time, I'd resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't going to get these games, because I was convinced he was going to refund me, because he basically said, for all intents and purposes, that he wants more money for them. So I ignored that email. Now, on the Monday morning, he sent me another email, and he said, I'm just wondering if you can give me an extra $100. and left it like that. And I couldn't stop laughing when I opened that email up. And I replied back, and I went, like, lol, again. I said, mate, first of all, I haven't got an extra $100 to give you. Secondly, why would I give you $100? And he replies to that one. He said, well, just a loan. He said, I need like an extra $100, and I should really have sold these for a bit more. And I thought, what a cheeky bastard. But I couldn't stop laughing. It was so naive. But I just found it really funny. This stranger asking me if I could give him a $100 loan for no reason. I thought it was bizarre. And I replied back to it, and I went, mate, I said, if you don't want to sell them, I said, just give me a refund. I said, it's not a problem. I'm not going to leave you negative feedback. And old Stu Tootie did leave negative feedback in big capital bold letters and told him what he thought of the seller. But I don't really bother with that, because I just can't be bothered with the argument. Much like on YouTube, if someone's being funny and argumentative, yes, the temptation is there to snap back, but I just can't be bothered. Just leave it, move on, be the better person, good karma, all the rest of it. So I said to him, I'm not going to leave you negative feedback. If you don't want to sell them, just let me know. Not a problem. And he replied back and went, oh no, he said, it's all right. He said, I do want to sell them. I was just wondering if you could give me any more money for them, because, you know, I've let them go for quite a good price. So anyway, we kind of left it like that. And lo and behold, the next day, he provided me with the tracking numbers, and they arrived. So I'll save those for a vid maybe tomorrow, next day, next week, whenever I do that vid. And I'll show you all the PlayStation 3 games that I got. But I didn't think I was going to get them. It's funny. But now I've got them. And some of them are in rubbish condition as well. But they're all really good games. I'm still really pleased, even though it's a lot of money. Like 80 quid, $125. I think it's worth it because a lot of these games kind of go for $10 to $15 each. And yeah, so I'm pleased. I don't think I've been ripped off. I think I've got a really, really good deal. I'm happy to get them. And they're good titles, like I say. And then just quickly, the other eBay story. So I was looking the other day on ebay.com, the USA website version of eBay, of course. And I was looking at SNES PAL games. I'm getting back into the SNES. I have been for some time. More news of that in the new year. Bit of a spoiler alert. But I was looking at a couple of PAL games. And an American seller, it actually transpired, it was a Brit living in America, much like myself, who was selling some of his old games, and some of them were PAL games. Now, I can't remember what the games were off the top of my head, but one of them, he wanted a $50 buy it now. They were in really good condition, or at least they looked it anyway. $50 buy it now, or a best offer. And then the other one, which was, I do remember that one, it was called Tetris Attack. He wanted $35 for it, or a best offer. So we wanted like $85 for these two games, which is way too much money for what they're worth. I went on eBay and I checked like on the sold listings to see what they kind of sell for, and probably $50 for boxed in good condition was the best rate. So I sent him a PM. I went, "Hi mate," I said, "It's funny to see you've got some PAL games because I'm a Brit, I live in America, I'm getting back into the SNES amongst other retro kind of nostalgic systems." I said $85 is a bit steep. On top of that, we're both in America. We both know that Americans do not want to buy PAL games. It's not going to happen. It's kind of incompatible. They need the voltage, converters to downscale the voltage for 50, 60 megahertz. And people don't want to do that. And the border rate, the big borders. People in America just want to play American games unless it's an exclusive for a PAL or Japanese system. So I was basically trying to use all these selling points. But they were true. They are all true. Generally, why would someone in America want to go to all the effort of getting different systems and setups for their TV and the voltage systems? They're not going to want to do it. If an American wants to play a Super Nintendo game, they're going to get an American Super Nintendo with American games. It makes perfect sense. So I said all this in the email, and the guy gets back to me, and he says, "Well, I'm not going to accept 50 because I'd offered 50 instead of 85. He said, "But feel free to make an offer." So I went back and I made an offer. Now, even though he wasn't going to accept 50, I offered 45. I think I offered 30 for one and then 15 for the other. So 30 for the one he wanted 50 for, and 15 for the one he wanted 35 for. So $45 all in. He gets back to me with counter offers, right? With a couple of counter offers, or one counter offer, or two technically, because there's two items. But a counter offer combined of $55. So he didn't want 50. That was way too unacceptable. He doesn't want 45, but he wants 55. And for the sake of $5, he kicked up this big fuss about saying, "Oh, there's no way," and he used like wordage like that. He said that's completely unacceptable. $50, but 55, I'll do that. And I thought, what a dickhead. So I got back to him and I replied and I said, "Hang on a minute, mate. Why would you turn down $50 and kick up a massive fuss about it, but say I could have them all for 55? Because I wouldn't mind, because my original email that I'd sent to him, my PM, the contact buyer link, I said I'd buy them outside of eBay so we could save on eBay fees. So if he'd have took my original offer of $50, he'd have made more money than if I'd have accepted his $55 through eBay and PayPal. What a complete tool. Might even be watching this. But that is ridiculous. So out of a point of principle, I thought, well, I'm not going to buy him for 55. I could have, but I thought he was just being an idiot. But a few days went by and I thought, oh, actually, for the sake of $5, maybe I should buy them. So I was tempted to send him another email to say, all right, $55, but I didn't. I think we kind of got to that kind of awkward etiquette point, really, where, we'd been a little bit cheeky. We hadn't really crossed the line, but I'd kind of called him an idiot, not using that word. But I kind of said he was stupid. Why would you do that when you should have... He could have made more money off me outside of eBay. He realised he'd been stupid, so I guess now he couldn't back down because it would make him look even stupider. So this really kind of awkward moment where none of us kind of knew what we wanted to do. And for the sake of $5, absolute ridiculous. Now, it's funny because I checked back a couple of days ago and the items had been removed. They hadn't been sold, he'd taken them down. And it makes me wonder whether he intentionally took them down. This is really weird, and this would probably never happen. But it makes me wonder whether he deliberately ended the auctions because he thought that maybe I would go back and check, see they're not there anymore, and then for me to think they'd sold, and then for me to feel bad about not buying them for 55. That is really elaborate, and probably you'd have to be mad for him to have done that. But maybe his mind worked that way to try and make me feel a bit stupid, like, oh, you should have bought them for 55 because now they've been sold, even though they haven't. It was a weird one. I think he just took them down because maybe he realised he'd overpriced them, or maybe he just didn't want to sell them anymore, or maybe he was trying to, like I say, to make me think they'd been sold for a higher price, even though I know they wouldn't have been. So it was really, really weird, and quite a complicated and convoluted story. I hope that made sense. Again, maybe you kind of had to be there to see it unfolding, but I didn't end up buying them. But I have bought a few more old games, including, I won't say, one of them's a SNES game, really expensive, but like I say, I'll maybe save it until next month or maybe January, and we're going to be heading in not a new direction for the channel, but an extra little kind of segment of when it comes to Super Nintendo. At least we're going to give it a try because it's a system I absolutely love, and got a huge nostalgia for it. But it could be a situation like Dave, like I was saying before, where it was his holy grail, the Street Fighter 2 cab, and for some reason, once he had the opportunity to do it and to get into it and to buy it and all the rest of it, he didn't follow it through. And it might be like me with the SNES. I might think, actually, this is not really for me. But we'll see. I guess if you don't try something, you don't know if you're going to like it or not. So anyway, long vid. Back to making my long vids. If you've watched it all, bloody hell, congratulations. And I'll be back shortly with more videos. Thanks for watching. See you later.